So you've been training hard at making some awesome action videos. Only problem is, now you're covered in bruises. Well, this is Self-Start Arts, and today we're going to learn 3 different ways to go to the ground safely. The first technique we're going to learn is the back fall. This is probably the most common fall you'll have to do. It's a little bit scary at first because you are going backwards, but if you follow these steps, it should be safe. So, the first thing we have to do is extend our arms. There's 2 reasons for this. One is practical and biomechanical, the other is theatrical. The practical biomechanical advantage of this is when I put my arms forward, when I take the next step, which is stepping backwards, I have counterbalanced my body. So now, instead of having all of my weight on this back foot, I am distributing that weight forward across my base. The other reason, the theatrical one, is if you are being kicked or hit or pushed backwards, naturally you're going to reach for something to stabilize on. If there's a person here and they are pushing me, I'm going to reach for that person. It makes it look more believable. And the third is a safety precaution. If I do not have my hands forward, they are going to go backwards. And if my hands go backwards and I go to the ground and my body weight hits my arms, there's a good chance I could break something or seriously injure myself. I've seen this happen. Please don't try and catch yourself with your hands. So, the second part of this technique is to step backwards. When I step backwards, I keep my foot mostly forward. I don't want to hurt my knee like this. I'm keeping forward, but I'm going as deep as I can. I kind of try to think of this as my Spider-Man stance, right? So, from here, I counterbalance, I step as far back as I can, and I come down onto this leg. At no point is gravity taking over. I'm using my muscles to decelerate to this point, to Spider-Man point. From Spider-Man point, I'm going to transition onto my opposite butt cheek. Whoop, just like that. I have turned what could have been a fall from this height to the ground to a very small rolling over action. And now I'm back on meaty muscle. From here, I'm going to follow my lat all the way up, and then I'm going to splat the ground. Ugh. The splatting the ground is optional. It just helps with the acting part of it, and it makes a nice noise. Other things to note on this, keep your chin tucked to your chest to avoid hitting it on the ground. So all together, I get pushed, I take my big step backwards, I go to Spider-Man stance, and then I fall on the ground, keeping my chin tucked, and I can act. So the next technique we're going to be learning is the front fall. The first step of the front fall is to take a big lunge on a 45-degree angle, out like this. I want to get nice and low. The lower I get, the less falling I have to do for this next step. Now the reason we go on a 45-degree angle as opposed to straight forward is because I want to create a zigzag to decelerate my momentum. If I go straight forward, all of my momentum keeps going forward. If I take a zigzag, when I get to the second step, I'm going to reach to the ground with not locked elbows and do a reverse push-up. Again, gravity's not taking over from here to here to here. I'm going to pop this knee up as I go down so I don't hit it. I actually recommend using knee pads for this if you can. Always get knee pads if you can get knee pads. If you can sneak knee pads into a project, sneak knee pads into a project. So again, this technique, as I fall forward, I come to this leg, I reach, I do a reverse push-up, keeping my chin up, and then I can splat, however I want to. All together, just like that. If you have a floor that's conducive to sliding, that won't hurt your hands, you can do this with a sliding motion. Now, sometimes if you're on a rough surface that's going to hurt your hands, you want to be really careful on that so you don't slide right out and hit yourself in the chin. You kind of got to play it by ear. But 2 options for this. You've got reverse push-up, and you've got slide. Remember, don't let gravity control this motion. The next thing we're going to learn is how to kneel safely. That can range from falling to the ground in anguish and cursing the gods, to taking a knee in front of your king, to stooping down to pick something up. All of which have a huge potential to cause you injury. So let's talk about how to do them safely. We're going to remember our rules. We are not going to let gravity be in charge. You're in charge, your muscles are in charge. Do not let gravity take over. So first we're going to do the double kneel. This one is pretty easy. Instead of thinking about going down on your knees, that was uncomfortable to even do the wrong way. going down on your knees like that, I want you to think about putting your butt to your heels. Boom, just like this. When your butt goes to your heels, put your back backwards like this. Push your chest backwards in order to counterbalance your weight and let your knees touch the ground gently. Again, butt to heels, counterbalance. And when I'm doing that, I'm barely touching the ground at all. It doesn't make a noise and it's pretty comfortable. Again, if you can get away with knee pads, use knee pads. That doesn't give you license to drop to the ground. Always be in control, never let gravity be in charge. So again, from here, down, butt to heels, chest back, knees touch. We can also kneel on one knee or take a knee. This one is going to be just like an exercise lunge. So we're going to go forward and just control our descent down to that knee. It's important that you don't smash into the ground. I can do this pretty quickly, but you'll notice the last few inches of this are controlled. So start slow, and then find where you can catch yourself. Being careful always to not hit that knee on the ground.